Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Raising the New Earth podcast. I am your host, Noah. This is a podcast where we explore shift in consciousness happening all around us and, of course, within us, and how we can be part of creating a healthier, more connected world. Today, we're diving into a deeply important topic: eating disorders and disordered eating. It is something that affects so many people. It has affected me growing up as a professional dancer. And yet, for some reason, it remains a stigma, misunderstanding, and there's complete silence around it. So today we're going to shake things up a little bit. This episode is not just about clinical diagnosis, which we can dive into, but this is more about the collective relationship that we have with food, body image, and the narratives that we absorb from culture. Social media is a big one, family, and personal experiences. Whether you have struggled with disordered eating or eating disorders yourself, or know someone that has, or simply are interested in creating a healthier relationship with food, I invite you to listen with an open heart. And as always, it is a gentle reminder: if this triggers you, please make sure that you take care of yourself while you're listening. And if you or someone you love is struggling, please seek support from a qualified healthcare professional. So this topic, why did I choose this topic? Because as someone that is coming from the entertainment industry and the athletic world as a professional dancer, weight and appearance was, I wouldn't say everything because performance had a lot to do with it, but absolutely has tilted the scale in favor of appearance. I remember being in, my ballet classes in high school, and the ballet teacher walks around the class and just marked of how puffy some of us looked. And then as a teenager, what you think to yourself, okay, I guess I'm just gonna stop eating so I won't look as puffy. But then you also have the stress and the depression and just the lack of knowledge how to deal with fueling your body for the sake of performance, and how to not engage and put a healthy boundary, as we talked about before in this podcast, even when it comes to your teacher. So it is no wonder that some of the risk factors are athletics and weight class sports. So in weight sensitive sports like gymnastics, like ballet, athletes do engage in extreme behaviors to meet weight requirements, which I did. That could lead to disordered eating patterns. While some sports encourage leanness, I've been doing mixed martial arts for the last couple of years. And the encouragement is actually to promote a larger, and by larger, I mean stronger physique. So that has created a lot of stability in my personal life. And this is an emotional contribution to how I feel more secure in my body. And I also think as we grow older, we care less and less about what other people think, and we listen more and more to our own heart. But definitely a risk factor is the athletics and weight class sports. Another risk factor could be genetics and epigenetics. So studies do suggest that individuals with a family history of eating disorders are at a higher risk. However, it does remain unclear whether this is due to genetics or learned behaviors. Mother-daughter. So when I worked at a mental health care facility, I sat down with a lot of eating disorders patients, and I would say 99% of the patients had malfunctioned relationship with their mother. It was either their mother or their father, that mostly the mother, that had mentioned something about the physique of the daughter, and the daughter then took it to the extreme and developed eating disorders. And this is the mother-daughter transmission of disordered eating pattern is well documented. So I acknowledge how hard it is when we are younger to look at a role model, and our first role models are our father and our mother, or whoever the primary caregiver is, and not to take it to heart and not to develop some kind of an issue by that. But as we grow older, as we become mothers, it is so essential that we clear our issues around food so that our daughters and our sons will not have the same triggered behavior around food. Psychological and emotional triggers are also risk factors. Anxiety, depression, and trauma are often presented in individuals with eating disorders. Childhood abuse, neglect are particularly linked to the development of disordered eating behaviors. And when it comes to disordered eating, this is something that you can somewhat control. So a lot of people, when they lose control in their personal life, find control in controlling what they eat. So that's the psychological and emotional trigger. Weight, stigma, diet culture, societal pressure to conform to a specific body um, fuels that chronic dieting and disordered eating. I mean, just look around you. Social media has been such a negative vessel when it comes to that. Influencers are being treated like God, and the rise of eating a certain way or depriving yourself a certain way in order to look a certain way has definitely risen in this decade. You see actresses trying to speak up against it. I, coming from the entertainment industry, I was told I need to lose weight to get a certain role. And you know, when you come to Hollywood on a mission for a purpose, you will probably do that to get into a role. I had a few celebrity clients who were told the same. So that pressure, often pressure from, I would say, um, the male producer or some kind of, you know, male model in the entertainment industry that knows nothing about the female body. I was told by a male manager that I'm not drop dead gorgeous. It's like, I didn't even know how to react to it. I was just silent. I was like, how does this person even allow himself to talk to anyone like that? But now that I'm older, I mean, I would never have anyone talk to me like that. I would probably come up with something clever to stay back or just know that this is the wrong person for me. Definitely not someone I want to be represented by. So the stress to look a certain way is valid, especially if you're in entertainment industry or you are in a weight athletics sports. And another risk factor is chronic illness and dietary control. So conditions like type 1 diabetes, IBS, celiac disease, and GERD can lead to restrictive eating behaviors, particularly when individuals develop excessive fear around certain foods. And I have come across that um, eating disorder patients with irritable bowel syndrome or GERD. And it's really hard to break apart what it is that they're truly feeling and what it is that is a mental block that they can't get past. Disordered eating can have severe physical consequences, including cardiovascular issues, gastrointestinal dysfunction, electrolyte imbalances, endocrine disruptors, and on and on and on. For example, anorexia nervosa can lead to dangerously low body weight, heart complications, and hormonal imbalances, including loss of menstruation and osteoporosis in females. So, how do we heal? What do we do to begin? There is a huge component of mindful eating when you want to engage your senses. How does the food taste like? How does your body feel before, during, and after? Research does support that mindful eating is a great tool to reduce anxiety and binge eating behavior and emotional eating. CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, this is an evidence-based approach that really helps individuals identify and change harmful thoughts around food or body. I do love CBT. I think that Cognitive behavioral therapy is great for a lot of conditions. DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy, is another strategy that is used to replace disordered eating behavior with healthier coping mechanisms. FBT, family-based therapy, is particularly effective in adolescents. This approach has the parents involved in restoring normal eating patterns. And then you have intuitive eating. This method rejects the diet culture and encourages people to depend on hunger and fullness cues and foster body trust. And I have to tell you, full disclosure, I did try intuitive eating. It did not work for me, but one size doesn't fit all, as we say. So you should try it. There is a book out there. It's actually called Intuitive Eating. You may want to check it out. And it's been helpful. This is like kind of like the to-go-to guide at mental health care facilities with clients that suffer from disordered eating and eating disorders. So we did use that book as a guide. It was successful with some patients. It was not with others. So, but it's worth looking into. Um, hearing hearing someone says something about our body or our weight can trigger an emotional response because this is not just about feeling validated. This is about us validating ourselves before anyone else is allowed to do so. This is about a collective healing when we shift from control to trust and from punishment to nourishment. We realign with a more natural, intuitive way of living. I had a client at the mental health facility, and you often see that, who was that individual was obsessed about working out to make sure that any calories that are in um, will be will be maintained through an excessive workout regimen. So this is something that I also see. I see people that just I do promote working out. I mean, it's known that it's an amazing form of helping your body, cardiovascular, strength training. It's all amazing. But just check in with yourself if you have had eating disorders or disordered eating before. Just check in with yourself if you're doing it for the right reason. And that's when intention is absolutely everything. Everything. Regular family meals is a fantastic social environmental prevention that can help. And studies show that children who eat with their family have a lower risk of developing eating disorders. On the other hand, children who eat with other children or adolescents that have eating disorders will will model some of that behavior unknowingly. I had one of my children coming home and starting to ask me about calories and how something that has zero sugar in it is better than someone that has sugar. And I realized this is something that she has heard somewhere else. And when I dug deeper, I realized that she was sitting next to a girl whose parents are not as knowledgeable around the idea of lifestyle, and they were seeking an extreme diet that then their child took on. And so I had a conversation with my child explaining her that sugar is a very, very good thing for our body, and the type of sugar does matter. And most of the time, when something says zero sugar, of course, not water not including, if something says zero sugar, it's probably filled with other chemicals that you don't want into your body. So absolutely have that coconut water, have that cold pressed juice that will serve you in the long run much more than any other junk drinks out there. All right. And so that's one of the complex social and environmental system that can affect someone's perspective on body and the food connection. A supportive home environment, that sense of connection with parents and positive discussions about body image, reducing diet talk can really serve as protective factors. When I do use the scale, and some people don't like to use the scale, but it took me a long time to be able to use the scale as data, working in my field. When my kids saw me hopping on the scale and asked me, Mommy, what are you doing? I explained to them that I'm collecting data. I want to see, and my scale also analyzes the hydration level. So I told them, this is what it says about bone density. This is the data that I'm getting about my hydration level. And this is the data of the weight that I weigh. So if you are not charged with past triggers, you can absolutely relay the information in a non-emotional way. It is data, and I am not relying on this data alone. I am just collecting data to see where I stand. Is it better that I finish eating 3 hours before bedtime? Is it better than am I ovulating? Am I menstruating? What is going on? Did I have pho soup that I love so much, but it's so packed with sodium that I store that for, 24 hours later, I still see that result. So it is important to clear yourself from past triggers in order to have a conversation, an uncharged conversation with your child. Another factor for prevention could be education around balanced nutrition. So I learned to not use the word bad or good around food, but I focus more on quality, variety, and nourishment. So my kids know that it's not about pizza and burger and candies being so bad for you. Yes, they're not amazing for you, but it's about the frequency of how much of it and the quantity you eat from them. So I make sure that my kids know they have to eat healthy at home because their body needs nourishment. There's a lot of nutrients in whole foods that we eat at home. And then occasionally, if they want to have candy or pizza or burger somewhere else, you can go ahead and do so because their body will know how to deal with it. So again, I'm not putting my extremist mindset to on them, but rather I teach them, I educate them about how food is supposed to heal our body and not hurt our body. And if something feels delicious to them, that is okay. And it's you can have healthy food and delicious food. But if you prefer the candy and you reach out for more and more and more and more candy, then we have an issue that we need to look into your fruit intake. Do you have enough glycogen stored in you? Have you had enough, protein and greens and vegetables? So do that first before you reach out for anything that is not nutrient dense. So, to understand eating disorders and disordered eating, there is a difference. While they share similarities, an eating disorder is a diagnosable mental health conditions recognizes in the DSM-5. So, DSM stands for Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorder, the fifth edition, hence DSM-5. So, this is like a comprehensive guide used by healthcare professionals to diagnose mental health condition, including eating disorders. So, the the differentiation between eating disorders and disordered eating needs to be understood because while anorexia nervosa, for example, bulimia nervosa, or binge eating disorders fall under eating disorder, disordered eating, on the other hand, is a broader category that includes irregular and unhealthy eating behavior that may not meet the criteria for a more formal diagnosis, but still impacts a person's well being. Examples of disordered eating can be chronic dieting, compulsive calorie counting, rigid food rules, emotional eating, and excessive exercise. These patterns may not be as harmful at first, but they can absolutely evolve into serious health concerns, both physically and mentally. And so when you try to heal you also try to reconnect back to your body and your food. How do we begin to do so? Yes, professional support is crucial for many, many, but there's also steps that we can take on our own to transform our relationship with food. Tip number one, practice mindful eating. Instead of eating on an autopilot, slow down, engage your senses, say a blessing. I love blessing my foods. And then feel, how does it taste like? How does your body feel before, during, and after? I tell my clients all the time, just check in with yourself. Do you feel bloated? Do you run to the bathroom? Do you feel what it is that you feel after you ate that? Tip number two, release the judgment. Let go of the idea that I am good if I'm eating good food and I am bad if I'm eating bad food. Instead, focus on nourishment, on nutrient dense food, on balance, and yes, enjoyment as well. Tip number three, listen to your body. Hunger and fullness cues are your body's innate wisdom at work. Try to reconnect with them instead of following some external rules. Tip number four, challenge. Oh, please, Lord, please challenge cultural narratives. Recognize where societal beliefs about food and body size are influencing you. Delete accounts. Start deleting accounts that don't serve you and question whether they align with your truth or not. I just saw an interview with a Latin actress, and she was very cute. She said, "Here in America, I look chubby." And she didn't mean chubby in a degrading way. She just said, "I look fuller." But in Latin, I'm one of the skinniest women, which is really important. I mean, this is a great message. It's a cultural narrative. So look into yourself, know your heritage. I proudly walk with my body knowing my cultural heritage. I'm proud of my curves. It took me a long time, absolutely, but I'm very proud of who I am, and more so, I I acknowledge my body. I thank my body for the health and the nourishment and the energy that I have within me. So go beyond the image and go deeper to, again, being grateful for what you have. Tip number five, build a support system. So healing is much easier when we feel seen and supported. Seek out community, whether through therapy, support groups, or trusted trends, but seek that out. You're not alone. It's important to realize that we all struggle with something. We're here in this physical realm, which means we are wearing this biological suit and having a human experience for a reason. So we need to acknowledge that, sit with that emotion, let that emotion be in motion, let it out, and start anew. I know it's not simple, it can take years, but start. It's never too late to begin again. So begin and start. In closing, I know this is a very charged topic, but it's I do hope that this conversation has offered some insight, validation, and maybe even a new way of thinking about food and self-care. If this topic resonates with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Join the discussion on our social platforms and on YouTube. Please share this episode with someone who you think might need it. And most importantly, extend kindness to yourself today. Until next time, remember your body is your home. So treat it with love, respect, and gratitude. Stay well and keep raising the new earth. I'll see you later.